Hi students, in this video I'll be going through a question on trigonometric ratios. Alright, so later on in the question you will see that some parts of this question can be a bit interesting. That it consists of some things that we don't usually go through that much in class. Okay, so let's take a look at the question. Alright, given that tangent A is equals to T and A is a cube, so A is in the first quadrant. Find in terms of T, sine A, cosine negative A, and then there are several parts below. Right, so for such a question, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to draw the triangle. Right, so tangent A, A is a cube, so that means the angle is in the first quadrant. Right, so let's go ahead and draw the triangle. Right, so A is in the first quadrant, so A will be over here. Okay, in the first quadrant. Okay, so over here they say that tangent A is just equals to T, right? So if tangent A is equals to T, we can always write as T over 1. It means that the opposite side is T and the adjacent side will be 1. Okay, so this means that this will be T and then this will be 1. And then using Pythagoras theorem, we should be able to get this one to be 1 plus T squared. Okay, so the hypotenuse is 1 plus T squared. Right, part A is easy part. So sine A, okay, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so the answer will just be this. Okay, T over 1 plus T squared. Right, so this will be the answer. Okay, next part, you see over here that there's a cosine negative A. Okay, so if it's a cosine A, then it's going to be very easy. Okay, but over here now we are going to try to spend some time studying, right? What's the relationship between cosine A and cosine negative A, right? Okay, so for example, if you we were to calculate out cosine 30, so 30 is a special angle, right? We will get square root 3 over 2. Okay, then if you were to compute inside your calculator cosine negative 30, you will end up with square root 3 over 2 as well, right? So you can actually go and press your calculator and try for yourself now. Okay, then if you try cosine 60, so 60 is also a special angle, you will get half. Okay, if you were to try cosine negative 60, you will also get half, right? Okay, then if you were to try, let's try an obtuse angle. So let's say cosine 120, you will get negative half. Okay, then you try cosine negative 120, you will also end up with negative half. So over here, what can we see? We can see that cosine 120 and cosine negative 120 have the same value. The same thing for cosine 60 and cosine negative 60. So in other words, what we can say is that cosine negative 30 is equals to cosine 30. Okay, then cosine negative 60 is equals to cosine 60. Same thing for cosine negative 120 is equals to cosine 120. Okay, so this means that cosine negative A should have the same value as cosine A, alright? Okay, so cosine negative A should have the same value as cosine A, which means that we can get the answer from our diagram, right? Cosine A is what? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so the answer will just be this. Okay, 1 over square root 1 plus T squared. Okay, so if you were to observe, think from the point of view of the quadrants, right, then you will be able to understand better why this is so. Okay, so you see, A is over here, right? Okay, so where is the angle negative A? Okay, negative A will be in the negative direction, and the triangle will be exactly the same. Okay, and as in these two triangles will be congruent, alright? So you see, A is in the first quadrant, negative A is in the fourth quadrant, so it's in the C quadrant. So cosine will be positive also, which is the same as the cosine A in the first quadrant, because both first and fourth quadrant cosine will be positive. That's why cosine A and cosine negative A gives you the same answer. Okay, then you will be thinking, what if does this also work if A is in the second quadrant? So if A is in the second quadrant, then it will be here, right? Okay, if A is in the second quadrant, then negative A will actually be in the third quadrant. Okay, so A, S, T, C. So you can see in the second quadrant and the third quadrant, cosine are both negative. In the second quadrant, cosine A is negative. if A is in the third quadrant, okay, negative A is in the third quadrant, right? Cosine of an angle in the third quadrant will also be negative. So in this case, you can see cosine A and cosine negative A will always have the same sign. Okay, so that's why cosine A is equals to cosine negative A. Alright, so this is how it works. Okay, so this will be one relationship that you can think of. But anyway, if you forget, you can always just use your calculator. Test a few angles. Okay, cosine 30 and cosine negative 30, and you see they give you the same answer. Then you will know the relationship already. Alright. Okay, so that's for cosine negative A. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, next one is easy. Secant A. Okay, secant A will just be 1 over cosine A, right? Okay, so just now we got cosine A. Okay, cosine A is 1 over square root 1 plus t squared. So this will be 1 over square root 1 plus t squared, which will give you square root 1 plus t squared. Okay, so this will be the answer, right? Okay, let's take a look at the next part. So there are 3 more parts. Okay, next one will be tangent 90 degrees minus A. So this is also another part which is not that familiar to us. Okay, but for some of you, you may be thinking, right, maybe we can use the addition formula. Okay, so let's try the addition formula for tangent A minus B. So in this case, now A is 90 and B is A. Okay, so let's try. So addition formula, if you recall, or you can refer to a formula sheet, will be tangent A minus tangent B. Okay, so now B is A. Okay, so I'm using this addition formula, right? Over 1 plus tangent 90 tangent A. Okay, if you were to press your calculator now, okay, tangent 90, right? Okay, so if I press now, okay, it gives me a math error. So in this case, it shows that we can't use the addition formula to work this out. Okay, so how do we work this out? Okay, if you recall, the triangle that we have is like this, right? Okay, just now the triangle that we have is like this. Okay, so A is over here. Okay, then we have this as a 1, then over here we have a t, and then over here we have square root 1 plus t squared. It is a right angle triangle. If A is over here, do you agree with me that this angle over here will be 90 degree minus A? Okay, because this angle is a right angle, right? Okay, it's a right angle. So here will be 90 degree minus A. Okay, so now we want tangent 90 degree minus A, right? So if the angle is over here, 90 degree minus A is over here, then this 1 becomes the opposite, and this t becomes the adjacent. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent, right? So it will just become 1 over t. So the answer you can simply get by doing this, right? Okay, so let's observe. Tangent A. Okay, tangent A as given in the question is t, right? Okay, then now we have tangent 90 degree minus A. We found out that it's equals to 1 over t. Okay, so if we were to sub, okay, tangent A is t, right? If we were to replace the t with tangent A, right, then we will be able to see that the relationship between these two is like this. Okay, tangent 90 degree minus A is equals to 1 over tangent A. So this is the relationship. But anyway, if you forget, this is the way to recall. Okay, this is the way to recall. If angle A is over here, this angle over here will be 90 degree minus A. Then all you need to do is just apply the same understanding. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Then you just do it. Alright? Okay, so this is how you can think about this part, right? Okay, then let's move on to part E. Part E, they want us to do tangent A minus 90 now. Okay, so A minus 90, how to do? Okay, so you can see, do you agree with me that tangent A minus 90 is tangent, I can rewrite as negative 90 degree minus A. Okay, so this one looks familiar to us, right? Because in the previous part, we did tangent 90 degree minus A. Now we want tangent negative 90 degree minus A. So now let's study the relationship again, okay? If tangent 30, okay, is equals to, okay, tangent 30 is also a special, 30 degree is a special angle, right? You get square root 1 over root 3. Okay, how about tangent negative 30? Okay, so if you press your calculator, you'll get negative 1 over root 3. Okay, if you try tangent 60, you'll get √3. Okay, then if you try tangent negative 60, you will get negative √3. Alright, so what is the relationship that we can observe over here? So we can observe that from the first one, right, we can observe that tangent negative 30 will be negative of tangent 30. Okay, because tangent negative 30 is negative 1 over √3, and 1 over √3 is equal to tangent 30. Then from the second one, you can observe that tangent negative 60 is equal to negative tangent 60. Okay, so in other words, tangent negative 90 degree minus A, right? Okay, will be equals to negative tangent 90 degree minus A. Okay, so, and we got tangent 90 degree minus A from the previous part already, right? Okay, from the previous part, we managed to work out 90 degree minus A is 1 over t. So this will be negative 1 over t. So this is the relationship, all right? So in essence, okay, the relationship between the negative angle is this. Tangent negative x will be equals to negative tangent x. Okay, so this is the relationship. Okay, for tangent, right? Okay, so you can see for cosine is the other way, right? Cosine. Okay, cosine the cosine negative 120 is the same as cosine 120. So for cosine is this case. Tangent cosine negative x will be the same as cosine x. Okay, but for tangent is this case. Alright, so tangent is this case. Alright, so what do you think will be the case for sine? Okay, sine will be similar to tangent. Okay, sine negative x will be equals to negative sine x. Okay, because for sine okay, let's say A is over, we can use back this diagram. If A is here, negative A is here, right? So sine A is in the first quadrant, but sine negative A is in the fourth quadrant, in which it will be negative. Okay, whereas sine A is in the first quadrant is positive. Alright, so for sine, this is the relationship that will hold. Okay, so for sine and tangent, okay, tangent, there's a negative missing here. For sine and tangent is negative, alright? But for cosine negative x is same as cosine x, right? Okay, so this is the relationship. Okay, so such things are seldom tested okay, but just hopefully with this you will be able to understand better and you can tackle it more confidently if you see the question in your exam. Okay, for sine, this one you can use the addition formula to open up. Okay, so if you open up using the addition formula, you get sine A cosine this, okay, minus cosine 360 sine A. Alright. Okay, sine 360 is 0, so this will be 0 times cosine A, so that the whole thing eventually becomes 0. Cosine 360 is actually 1, then sine A. Okay, so in other words, you will be left with negative sine A. Okay, then from the triangle, sine A is actually t over square root 1 plus t squared. So you'll get negative t over square root 1 plus t squared. Right, so I hope this video will enable you to understand better about such concepts, but you really need to take out your textbook. Okay, there are some questions that are similar to this. You go and try, then you will be more confident about applying the ideas discussed in this video.